Welcome to GBE Reviews. I'm your host Joe, and today I'm going to be talking about the anime Red Garden. Red Garden is a 22-episode, single-season anime which was released in 2006. The anime is an adaptation of a manga which shares the same name. There is also a one-episode OVA that gives a follow-up to the main story way off into the future. Now that we've discussed a bit of the background, let's talk about the story. If I were to try to describe the story of Red Garden, I would say it is unconventional and yet strangely familiar. It focuses around four girls who wake up one day feeling strange with no memory of the night before. The next day, they find out that a classmate of theirs, Lisa, was found dead. Later that night, they follow a set of mysterious butterflies that only they can see to a park and meet with two mysterious agents of some unknown organization. They then find out they have died, and that in order to continue to live, they need to stay awake until midnight each night and fight monsters if called upon. The story does a good job of unfolding at a solid pace. The girls slowly come to understand who they are fighting for, why they were chosen to fight, and eventually most of the mysteries of the story's universe are revealed. Though at the heart of the story, four girls fighting supernatural beings is a bit cliché, there are enough unique elements to open the door to what the story is really about. Insanely strong character development, and the growth of a friendship between four unlikely candidates. Some examples of the story elements which help facilitate Red Garden's spectacular character growth. Number 1. Even though the four main characters are all high school students, they couldn't be more different. They literally have no common bond besides the school they attend and their common friendship to the girl named Lisa. Given they have no attachment to each other and yet need to face life or death situations and work towards a common goal, there is a constant source of struggle. Number 2. The girls are given the heavy burden of knowing they have died. Therefore, trying to live their normal lives by day affects each of them differently and is a substantial driver of character development. On top of that, everything that is associated with being a normal teenage girl is grossly amplified given their situation. Number 3. The girls have lost their memory of the night they died. Over time, their memories return in small pieces which amplifies this horror they feel about their situation. Number 4. The girls are not overpowered or strong. They are just regular girls who are scared and don't know how to fight. There is a true sense of accomplishment with them overcoming adversaries. Number 5. The world is full of mystery and intrigue. As you learn the details surrounding their deaths, who they are fighting and why, you are taken on an emotional roller coaster. Though the major plot premise is a bit cliché, the specific details are dark and mysterious and lead to a consistent set of tension throughout the story. Number 6. In the first half of the series, there are a lot of random songs intertwined in the story. They are both solo songs and joint songs, which basically represent how the characters feel at the time. They are certainly not the best songs I've ever heard, but they convey true emotion, and I'm yet to see an anime really incorporate songs in such a way. And number 7. The OVA does a really solid job of giving you a look at the girls far into the future. You get a good sense for not only how the story ends, but also what the characters will be doing after the fact. One thing to note about the story, the ending is insane. I was left with a ton of questions after the ending of the main series. For all Red Garden does right, the ending without a doubt truly jumped the shark. The conclusion left me confused and frustrated, and wishing they had handled the ending better. That being said, I was impressed with the character development and didn't hate the story, I just didn't see the need for it to be so over the top. Now that we've given you a good idea about the story, let's talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this anime is definitely on the more unique side of the spectrum. It brings together a wide variety of music that spans jazz, orchestral numbers, and even Japanese punk, if that's a thing. One thing I want to point out is that the singing scenes made it feel a little bit like a musical. Though they generally fit in the overall quirky nature of the anime, they may be off-putting for some. Here are a few examples of the girls singing to give you an idea what I'm talking about. are a few clips from the OST to give you a sense for the kind of music you'll hear during the anime.
My only love sprang from my only hate to only sin unknown and known to wait. But it is force of love is to me, not a mask lover lies at enemy.
Step by step 君と出会って時を忘れて踊り明かした星に宿る定めを知らずに I can't stop for
The art is where this anime hits a home run. For something done in 2007, this anime looks good. The character models are all one of a kind, and there's just something magical about it. When I saw this anime for the first time, it felt very French to me. I'm not sure why, but something about it just felt like it had that avant-garde European high society feel to it. I've never seen an anime that looked quite like this, and that uniqueness made even standard and uneventful scenes a breath of fresh air. Now to talk about the best part of this anime, the characters. One of the two agents who gives the girls their nightly assignments made a great assessment about the girls. He said, "They are neither comrades nor friends, they merely fight together at night." This sentiment hits the nail on the head. These girls begin their relationship as almost strangers, only sharing their friendship with the recently deceased Lisa. How their relationships with each other and their friends from the past change over time are extremely compelling. As the anime progresses, they each have a harder time relating to their past and instead grow to share a common bond with each other that isn't quite friendship but something far deeper. Let's discuss each of the main girls in a bit of detail. First you have Rose. Rose is your typical girl from a blue-collar background. Her mother is sick in the hospital and her father is out of the picture, so she is forced to take care of her little brother and little sister on her own. She only has one main friend, who seems to spend much of her time with. Personality-wise, Rose tends to be the most timid. She is usually paralyzed by fear during fights, and is the least useful. This inability to fight leads to distrust and disdain from some of the members of the group, and is a source of major animosity. Rachel is the typical artsy type. She is always fashionable, and hangs out with the cool kids. She is the only girl with a boyfriend, and the one who has the most friends before dying. Her relationship with her boyfriend and other friends becomes strained as she struggles with how to deal with her death, as her lifestyle choices seem to change drastically now that she has died. She is strong in combat and not afraid to fight the zombies at all. Claire is your typical punk rock loner type. She has a job at a hamburger joint and pays her bills and tends to live in squalor. Behind the scenes, Claire's father is actually very rich, but they have become estranged in her past, and she resents him and thus would prefer to be poor than take his money. Because she is a loner, she only has a single male friend. Once she has died, the relationship gets a bit strained, but mostly stays the same as it did before. Claire is the strongest in combat and tends to take the lead in killing the zombies. Last we have Kate. Kate is your typical rich girl. She seems to be groomed to do great things in her life as a member of the upper class. She has a spot on the student council called Grace, and is within the social elite of the school. She has friends in the student council, including the student council president, who seems to have a bit of a girl crush on her. She takes her death quite hard, and has a hard time getting to class on time and continuing her responsibilities in the student council. The student council president is constantly covering for her and trying to figure out why she's having her issues. There are several supplemental characters as well. You tend to get a healthy bit of background on each, and they all play a part in the very intricate story. One thing I will say is the appeal to me was how the main antagonist is a bit of a tragic character. It is a bit cliche in that he is a tortured soul out for revenge, though given what he has gone through, it is a bit understandable. The one weakness of the character development stems from the over-the-top ending. Considering the hidden workings of the story, the characters are forced into certain behavior patterns that are logical but also frustrating. Basically, if certain aspects of the story were changed, there would be no issues and everyone would be able to lead a happy life. This generally frustrated me, though I understand that without conflict there is no story after all. On a side note, the OVA does a good job of continuing the character development. Each of the girls has lived for what must be hundreds of years, and seen many, many places and things. What I find fascinating is how each takes on a different personality type as they grow up and mature. All of the assumptions about them based on the past can be thrown out the window. In that way, I found it an exciting addition to the series. Alright, so to answer the number one most important question, should you watch this anime? Let's review some of the good and bad elements of Red Garden, and who should watch this anime. The kind of people who would like Red Garden, aka the good. Do you like an anime with top-notch character development? Do you like a dark story that has quirky elements but a familiar feel? Do you appreciate a unique art style? Do you prefer a story that is filled with mystery and intrigue, that is revealed slowly over time, and which furthers strong character development? Alright, so the kind of people who could dislike Red Garden, aka the bad. Do you prefer anime in the mystery suspense genre to be very scary and focus more on the dark elements of the story? Do you prefer more conventional anime with a more standard art style? Do you dislike a story with some plot holes that has an over-the-top ending enough to not want to watch it at all? And finally, do you find the daily life of high school students tedious and overplayed and dislike that element of anime? In summary, Red Garden is a unique and refreshing anime that focuses heavily on character development, specifically on how four normal girls would handle trying to live their normal lives while being thrust into a crazy situation full of mystery and fear. The art is very stylized, and the character interactions mostly make up for the lackluster story and over-the-top ending. Well, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you found this review helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of GBE Reviews. Again, I'm your host Joe, saying to you, Jeanne.
Oh, please don't let me die, waiting for you.